Welcome into the Jazz Notes podcast. Ben Anderson, David James, and I had a conversation about the Utah Jazz on Tuesday after they beat the Dallas Mavericks. Here's our conversation from this week.
I watched the Jazz play last night, and I thought, am I seeing this? Is this real? The Jazz have now won 4 out of 6. They have won 5 out of 8. They are too good to tank, but I don't know that means they're any good. When you beat a team like Dallas, which might be in tank mode itself.
They were tanking.
I think the Mavs might be interested in pairing A.J. DeBonsa with Cooper Flagg. That would be a pretty imposing duo.
The Mavs are interesting. They only have this pick this year for the foreseeable future. They mortgaged everything else to build around Luka Doncic, so they recognize this is their last chance to get a guy of that ilk to pair with Cooper, and otherwise they're going to have to do it with whatever they get in an Anthony Davis trade, and Derek Lively comes back next year after his injury, and they're going to build with that core, which is very good.
They're going to find worker bees.
But yeah,
they're going to have to find late picks who work their way into being very good basketball players. But this is a chance to get a transcendent talent.
And the nice thing is they already have the guy that everyone's looking to get. You have to have a top 10 player in the NBA to win, and they have Cooper Flagg, and he's going to get there.
And now they're getting greedy.
Yeah.
Now they'd like to have 2 of the top 10 players in the NBA. So as the Jazz excel offensively during that game, I'm thinking, are they really that good? Because I've seen them play good teams in the NBA. It didn't look anything like this. Now, at some point, young teams figure it out. And sometimes they figure it out all at once and they take big jumps. It doesn't have to be a gradual, straight-line graph. So I'm curious what you think. How much are they figuring out? Because that was a 39-point performance for Keontae, followed by now a 37-point performance against Dallas. How much is he figuring it out, and how much is it, hey, once you take all the 7-footers off the floor, it's easier to score over the 6'9 and 6'10 guys?
I am of the opinion that what Keontae's doing is extraordinarily legitimate. I've bought in, and I have been skeptical about it because I remember the last 2 years, and I saw the flashes, and then you would see a downturn. And there might still be a couple of stretches here where he doesn't play superbly well, but he's answered all of his bad games with seemingly even better games.
The best thing I saw about him was a couple weeks ago when they played that back-to-back with Houston. And I thought the bad habits of the first 2 years were on full display in the first game. And there was a particularly difficult stretch that was brutal. And the next day, bang, he was back. It's like, so the ability to sit down and say, now, as he gets deeper in his career, hopefully he'll figure that out at halftime. And then he'll figure it out after a quarter.
Yeah.
And then he'll figure it out while he's on the court and it's happening.
Yeah, before the game. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So you want that. But I did think, okay, that mattered. That he could turn it around the next night and all the bad habits were gone. And there were a bunch of good habits and he had a much stronger performance.
And here's why I buy some of what Keontae's doing. I'm just doing some quick math here. And look, this is somewhat oversimplified. When your good players play well, your team wins. But
did the good players play that well? And Filipowski had a really strong game. I mean, he scored it.
And Lauri Markkanen played well. But you know what? The Jazz haven't always won when Lauri Markkanen scores big points. And not every team wins when their younger players score big points. No, here's the numbers on Keontae.
One guy can't get it done, but they had 6 guys in double figures, and they had 3 guys over 20.
Jazz have played 25 games now. They're 10 and 15 on the season. When Keontae's below 20 points per game, or in a game, the Jazz are 2-8. When he's above 20, the Jazz are 8-7. When he's above 30, again, when you have a guy score 30, your team's more likely to win. It's not that difficult, but the fact that it is actually mattering when it's on the floor, the Jazz are 5-1 when Keontae scores 30 or more. Meaning, he's doing these in big games. He's doing these in real games. And when he is playing well, it's impacting winning, which is something that is not always the case.
And there's the other end of the floor, where defensively I thought they were a complete mess to start the game. They gave up 43 points in the first quarter, and they never did get their arms around Cooper Flagg. I mean, he just kept going. But in the second half, 24 points in the third, 30 in the fourth. I can live with that. That's winnable. But again, I felt like the whole game was distorted. It was like funhouse mirrors. You know, I felt like I was at the carnival. Everything was distorted because you don't have rim protectors at either end. The lane's wide open. The message from the coaches is attack. And to the credit of the Jazz coaches and the young guys, however the coaches delivered the message, it was heard from the very first play. Ace Bailey, don't be late to the game.
Yeah.
The best 15 seconds were the first 15 seconds. That jumper, that was clunky. and it comes hard off the rim, and he never stops moving, never gives up the play, and grabs the rebound with one hand and throws it down. It's like, that's why you go to NBA games. Even if you don't know anything, there is a level of skill and athleticism in this game you don't get that many places in the world. And you get it at NBA games. And that was awesome. I can watch a game quiet. I was sitting with two people. I think I scared them.
Yeah.
Oh! You know?
Yeah.
And they didn't have to be looking when it happened. They were looking at food.
It was a very enjoyable game. It was a very entertaining game.
But is it real? Or they're played a team in the bottom third of the league and they're tanking. So how much should I put into this? Because when they play a team in the top third, when you get to the playoffs, the whole championship thing we talk about, usually you have to beat 3 of the top 10 teams in the league in the playoffs. You might get an easy first rounder. Maybe.
They're not ready to do that. Breaking.
Slow down. I'm taking notes.
They are just clearly better than the worst team in the NBA and probably better than the 5 or 6 worst teams in the NBA. And that puts them right on the cutting edge of how do you hold on to this draft pick. And what was interesting about last night's game was despite the fact that they won, they went into this game with the design of holding on to their draft pick. And by the way, this was not the first time this season. I would go back to 2 weeks ago in Brooklyn when they sit Yusuf Nurkic, and he had a rib injury. But they also choose to sit Kevin Love in that same game when Kevin Love could have just played. Yes, he only plays one end of a back.
But they could have flipped it.
They could have flipped it. And he probably wanted to play in Madison Square Garden. He probably wanted to play against the Knicks. I totally get that. But you just say, hey, man, we're paying your paycheck. We need you to play against the Nets because we don't have a player.
But they thought maybe they could lose to the Nets.
But they thought they could lose to the Nets, and that would be a good loss.
And they didn't.
And they didn't. And then they thought, well, we could probably lose to the Dallas Mavericks at home because we accidentally beat the Memphis Grizzlies on the road. So Svi Mykhailiuk, who's been, honestly, arguably maybe the Jazz's 3rd best player as far as consistency goes, he's not going to play at all. Kevin Love's not going to play at all. Nurk's going to rest, not out for injury. He's not going to play at all. All these veterans with some wisdom of how to win are going to sit. And the Jazz thought maybe that'll be enough. And Keontae George is too good for that now. And Lauri Markkanen is too good for that now. And even when you get a player like Kyle Filipowski.
So I was told last night before all this happened, literally right before it started, and I was told they are going to hold on to that draft pick. And then I followed it up with, A, B, C, blah, 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 to which, the report, they are going to hold on to that draft pick, which is like hitting you upside the head. Yeah. Hey, stupid, listen to what I am saying. Listen to the words I am saying to you. They're going to hold on to that draft pick. And then you get the whole thing of what Austin Ainge said at the microphone, which can be quickly explained with, you asked him a question that can only be answered one way. His first official act sitting atop the Jazz pyramid should not be make the commissioner mad and get the owner fined.
Right.
So he said what he said, and he did say it, and people should be held accountable for their words. But context matters. Did you really think he was going to anger the commissioner and get the owner fined at his first press conference?
And I have no doubt the Jazz can pull the parachute and figure out how to hold on to this draft pick. After all, they are only 4 wins better than the 3rd worst record in the NBA.
Knowing full well that everyone else is going to do that too.
But other teams are going to. So if you're going to do it, you're going to have to really seriously commit to it.
How many other teams? Minimum 8, I think. Minimum.
Yeah, I'm trying to
maybe
do it off
9
the
or 10.
top of my head. We can
I don't
pull
have
up the
to.
standings. Yeah.
I will pull up the standings then. And the Wizards are absolutely going to do it.
Wizards are doing it more than anybody.
The Pacers are going to do it.
I think the Pacers are going to do it. Maybe not at all costs, but
really?
They've won, 6 of their last 10? Something like that? 6 of their last 12? 4 of 10.
4 and 6 in their last 10.
But they're winning games more than they were to start the year. And look, you can pull the plug in the second half of the season as we've seen the Jazz do, but they aren't.
They beat the Wizards, the Kings, and the Bulls twice.
Yeah.
They've also lost to the Wizards.
Yeah.
So
by a lot.
Split 2 games with the Wizards. That's what.
But you're right. The
Bulls.
Pacers are going to be in this conversation. No question about it.
The Charlotte Hornets.
Hornets are going to do it.
Okay, so that's 4 teams in the East. The Pelicans. No motivation for them. They should try to win, but maybe they're just not good enough.
They should get better throughout the year.
They've given up their pick, so they can't get one of the elite draft picks.
There's no reason for them to continue to pull the plug over the second half of the season. In fact, it will be better for their PR if they give the Hawks a worse pick.
Yes. The Kings.
Yeah, the Kings' report came out this morning. They're trying to trade all their veterans.
That's 6.
Yep.
The Jazz would be 7. Dallas is 8. Clippers.
Clippers don't own their pick either. Goes to
Oklahoma City. Where else would it go, right?
Yeah.
So the Clippers and Pelicans shouldn't, but maybe they're just that bad.
They might just be that bad.
You got 6 teams trying.
Yeah.
2 teams that are awful even though they don't have the incentive.
And then there are teams
Bulls, Blazers.
Bulls, Blazers, and Grizzlies, who just lost Ja Morant last night and are already missing Zach Edey, could also pull the plug. They could trade Ja Morant. They could try and retool. So there are...
So we've got 6 for sure, 2 that might not be able to help themselves, even though they don't get the reward, and another 3 we'll have to wait and see, but I expect that probably at least 2 of the 3 will.
And right now, among those teams, the Jazz have the best record outside of the Memphis Grizzlies, and because they have a better record than the Portland Trailblazers.
Here's a crazy one for you. What about the Bucks?
If they trade Giannis, but I don't think they own their pick either. They traded all their picks to get Drew Holiday to build around Giannis. So they don't really have that motivation right now. But that's
a pick that didn't go to Oklahoma City. Phillies went to Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah, I don't think it went to Oklahoma City. I think it may have gone to New Orleans, and then New Orleans may have sent it to Atlanta for DeJounte Murray.
Okay.
So what is interesting there is you could potentially, if you trade Giannis to Atlanta, you could get your pick back. And Atlanta actually is one of the destinations that really does make sense for Giannis. But to the bigger point, and locally pertinent, is that the Jazz are not positioned right now to get the draft pick. And if they want to get the draft pick, you probably can't win more than 25 games. And that means 15 wins over the next 4.5 months. I mean, that's 3 wins a month. That's nothing. I mean, that's you're gonna really have to pull the plug on the season if that's where you're hoping to get. And look, you can win one of your final 20 games, and that certainly makes it easier by really, really tanking, by resting Lauri Markkanen for the rest of the season. Whatever you have to do, maybe you have to rest Keontae George as well. And if the pick is that important to you, which it probably should be, those are the steps you have to take. I hate talking about it. I don't particularly enjoy watching that style of basketball either, nor do most Jazz fans, which is why last season was so painful. I don't think anyone in the Jazz front office likes doing it. But as we saw last night, if you get a truly transformational player early in their career, and I'm not selling out Ace Bailey's stock. I still think Ace can get there. He's just probably closer to that Keontae George. It might take 3 years before you know. And the problem is if it takes 3 years before you know and he doesn't reach where Keontae George is, then you've missed. But if you can get one of these young 3 players in this year's draft, Darren Peterson, A.J. DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, and they are probably not as good as Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is the youngest player ever to score 40 in an NBA game. If they're even close to that level, and then you pair him with Lowry now, and you pair him with whatever this version is of Keontae George, and Ace Bailey turns into anything, suddenly you actually do have a roster that could compete for something serious.
You never know how players are going to grow and evolve over 5, 7, 10 years, which is what we're talking about, because Cooper Flagg's 18, so we're talking about 23, 25, 28 years old. We don't know how that's going to work out. The thing Cooper Flagg did and why he's a cut above these guys until they prove otherwise, the fact that he got picked to go, before he even played in college, to go with that U.S. select team and go against the All-Stars who are the U.S. Olympic team. So you're in like dream team territory here, and you're so good that the guys who are going to be Olympians are like, oh, that dude's really good. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, maybe DeBonsa will end up, or Boozer or whoever, Peterson will end up being better. Maybe they'll go to more All-Star games and win more championships. Maybe.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think there's higher praise. You go into that setting. You're on the select team going against the core of the U.S. Olympic team, and they come out going, that guy's a real deal. They got every reason not to say that. When Shaq was coming up, they froze him out of an All-Star game.
Yeah.
Jordan, like the best of the best. Number of people Kobe ticked off when he was young.
Yeah.
Yeah. These guys are sitting on 4, 5, 6 championships.
Cooper's the best American prospect since LeBron.
Yeah.
And has actually lived up to it on the floor. And, Zion had his moments, and there have been good players. But what we've actually seen in his NBA career, Cooper's the best we've seen in over 20 years. It's amazing. He's going to be as good as advertised. Again, to go back to the point of, he is justifying why teams tank. The ironic thing is that the Mavericks got him without tanking. The teams that tanked for him didn't get him. And now a lot of those teams are tanking for a second season in hopes of repeating the process to get the guy, having just been bitten by the snake that they carried.
Well, there you go. Awesome. And now the NBA's got to sell a league where somewhere between a quarter and a third of the teams aren't even trying to win.
And look, here's the weird part for the Jazz. Suddenly, this question has been, we know Lauri Markkanen's not number one on a good team. Or a great team, we should say. Good team, maybe. Number one on a great team, he's not. He's never won at a high level. He's never made the playoffs before. Jazz have given him the ball a lot. He can score 25 points a game. It doesn't necessarily translate to winning. Keontae George suddenly is putting himself in the conversation where if by the end of the season he's better than Lowry, you've achieved your goal, was to find somebody better than Lowry to put on your team. But is he...
And even if he isn't better than Lowry, just to have someone who's in the neighborhood makes it so much harder to defend, and it's why the tank is so attractive. Imagine you've got someone who was a legit top 10 talent. Asking a guy Keontae's size to be that kind of player, that is a big ask.
It is.
It doesn't happen very often in the NBA. Track Donovan Mitchell's career, what he's going through, what he's about to go through. It is really hard when you are under 6'6".
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't do it. I know Steph Curry's out there. It can be done. But under 6'6" in the NBA, super hard to be an elite player.
Absolutely. But now that you've got those two guys, if you could still add that third, now all of a sudden you're really cooking with something. You really have a design of a roster that can win. I don't want to say at the highest levels because Oklahoma City and Victor Wembanyama exist on the planet, but you're far closer than maybe you even were with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell because they never truly had the third guy.
Thank you for listening to the Jazz Notes podcast. I believe Chandler Holt is going to try to record a solo pod coming up on Monday for you dedicated Jazz fans out there. I am out through Christmas, and we'll be back with you shortly before New Year's, that Monday after Christmas. So expect another podcast then. Otherwise, have a happy holidays, and thanks for listening.